All right, hey guys, this video is going to go over how to simplify expressions now using what we know about fractional exponents. All right, so just as a quick refresher, let's say that we have this problem, 27 to the 2/3 power. So remember, if I wanted to try to write this a different way, there's a couple of different ways I could do it. So the first thing, remember, is the bottom number tells you what root you're taking. So I'm going to be taking the cube root of 27, and then I can square that, and then I can put the little squared out there. Another way you could write that is you could do cube root of 27, but you could square 27 first, and then do the cube root. Okay, another way to write that, remember, is I could say, okay, let's say I just wanted to do the cube root of 27 first. Could write it like that, and then I could take that to the second power. And remember, the reason you can do that is when you have a power to a power, you multiply, and I would end up with 27 to the 2/3. Okay, another way to think about this, if I actually want to get the answer to this, if I was doing 27 to the 2/3, well, the cube root of 27, I know that's 3, but then I need to take 2 factors of that or square that, and the answer would end up being 9. So that's just a quick refresher of how fractional exponents work. All right, what if I gave you that same thing, but I had negative 27 to the 2/3? Okay, you would still do it the exact same thing, okay? So you could, if I was going to solve this, I could actually think, well, the cube root of negative 27. I can do that. I can do the cube root of negative 27. That's actually negative 3. Okay, and then if I square that, I still end up with 9. Now, if I did negative 27 to the 1/3 power, I would just do the cube root of negative 27, which is negative 3. Okay, so negative signs, you can still do it if it's like a cube root or a fifth root, but you can't do it with a square root. So like if I did negative 16 to the 1/2, you're not going to be able to get an answer for that because you can't do the square root of negative 16. All right, so today we're going to learn how you can simplify expressions that have fractional exponents. So let's say I have this one here on my screen. I have x to the 2/3 and then take that to the 1/2 power. So if I was doing this, here's what I would do. I would think about my exponent rules. When I have a power to a power, let's say I just had like x to the 4th to the 5th power, I know I can just multiply. So it would turn into x to the 20th. So on this top one, I would do the same thing. I'm going to multiply these fractions, and I'm going to end up with x. If I do 2 times 1, that's 2. 3 times 2, that's 6. And then 2/6, that's the same as a third, so it really equals x to the 1/3. So basically, I'm just taking whatever the cube root of x is. That would be the same answer. All right, let's say I had one that looked like this. 25x squared to the negative 1/2 power. So before we get to this, let me just give you a quick refresher. If I had x to the negative 3rd power, remember you can rewrite that as 1 over x to the 3rd. So if I have one like this, I can rewrite it and put 1 over 25x squared to the positive 1/2 power. Now I can work that out. So I'm going to do 1 over, if I was doing this, I need to do 25 to the 1/2 power. And then the x part, I'm going to do 2 times 1/2 because it's a power to a power. And I end up with 2 over 2. Okay, now let's simplify that a little bit more. So I'm going to do 1 over, well, if I do 25 to the 1/2 power, you guys should know now that's just square rooting 25, which is end up being 5. And then 2 over 2, that's the same as just a 1. So I just end up with x. So my final simplified answer is 1 over 5x. Okay, let's take a look at another one. So division with the laws of exponents. Just a quick refresher. If I had x to the 8th over x to the 6th, remember you can subtract the exponents and it would be the same as x to the 8 minus 6 power, which is x squared. Okay, so the same thing here. Okay, I'm going to subtract my 2 exponents. So I have x to the 3/2 minus 1/2 power. Okay, which ends up being x equals, if I take 3/2 minus 1/2, I'm left with 2/2. Well, 2 over 2 is the same as 1. So my simplified answer is just x, or x to the 1st power. Okay, let's try one more of those. So same thing, if I have x to the 4/5 divided by x to the 2/3, remember you can rewrite that as x to the 4/5 minus 2/3 using our laws of exponents. Now, if you're doing one like this, you actually need to get a common denominator to do this. So 4/5 minus 2/3, they both go into 15, so I'm going to change them to 15ths. That would be times 3, so 12. This would be times 5. Times 5 is 10. So 12 minus 10 is 2. So end up being x to the 2/15. Now, let's see if you could write that another way. Could you write that in a different form? Okay, well, I could say, all right, x, my radical is going to be the 15th root, and then I'm going to square it. So you could write it like that. There's several other ways, but that would just be one. All right, last one. So if I have one like this, and I am multiplying two exponents, remember your law of exponents is if I have like x to the 5th times x to the 3rd, you can add those exponents, so x to the 8th. So this one, same thing, I need to add 3/7 plus a half. Okay, so it's really x to the 3/7 plus a half. Now again, got to get common denominator. So I'm going to change them both to 14ths. Okay, I'll do this times 2, which would give me 6/14, and then this times 7, which would give me 7/14. So if I add those together, I end up with x to the 13th 14th power. And that would be my simplified answer. All right, so we just went over how you can simplify fractional exponents using all of the laws of exponents that we already know. So now you're going to actually practice some, and then I want you to make sure you check your answers. And if you are having a hard time or need more help, please let me know. Have a good rest of your day.